All right, just for the record, I don't want to talk about this, but we're gonna talk about this. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is actually a topic that I could have covered a while ago, but now that there's an extra layer to it, I thought, why not? The internet is exploding with memes like crazy on it. So yeah, let's talk about it. And it does involve voiceover. Actually, I've talked to a couple of people that have been kind of upset with the idea of Chris Pratt voicing so many characters. Mostly because, and this is one of the arguments, is that people are saying that he's not a voice actor. That some actors are voice actors as well as actors, and he's just an actor. And I can kind of see where they're coming from. However, this is not new. Almost every single Pixar movie or every single DreamWorks movie or whatever has had celebrities, stars, actors do the characters. Very rarely has the role of voice acting gone to people who are just voice actors. I think the only film that I can think of that's gone to theaters that had voice actors do the characters was Space Jam, the latest Space Jam. Almost all of the the tunes were basically done by voice actors who normally do these characters. And then plus LeBron. And, well, I've already covered that, and he is not a voice actor. He's not even an actor, I don't even think. He's just a celebrity. So this topic is not new. This is not brand new at all. Chris Pratt voicing Mario for the Super Mario. I still don't know what that's going to look like, but fine. Or I think it is confirmed, doing Garfield. Now, there's a couple reasons that this is popping up and why you're seeing him do voice acting. But I would like to let everyone know, no one really seemed to freak out when The Rock was doing, The Rock's been in friggin' everything in the past couple of years. He's been doing a lot of voiceover. So have been a lot of people. A lot of actors who weren't voice actors have been showing up as voice actors, especially lately. And the reason for that is, partly, at least this is my understanding, is because of COVID. Because of the whole pandemic. Is it even a pandemic? I don't even know. Because of the whole, how everything is right now. Not that many films, live action films, are actually being made. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, there's a lot of studios that don't know when all this is going to end and don't know when people are going to be able to get back to theaters, get back to actually being in theaters. So they're kind of picking and choosing, as far as like the studio heads and the producers, executives, they're kind of picking and choosing what films to actually make. Because if most of their profit is at the box office, then there's no real point in them putting a lot of money into a movie that people aren't going to go see, no matter how good it is. Sure, they're going to make something back with streaming and with, the DVDs or Blu-rays or whatever, digital. It's mostly digital now. Even if they are going to make something back with that, they like to make a whole bunch of money right out of the gate. They basically like to make back what they lost at the box office, like immediately. It's kind of how they work. So, unless it's something that was already in production before everything was getting shut down and, people were getting threatened with mandates and red tape was through the roof and choking people out. Before all of that, if a film was starting to be developed before all that, then they were going to go ahead and finish it. like Shang-Chi. I believe that's how that's said. That Marvel movie. Basically, a portion of that was actually filmed during COVID, but the majority of it, I think, don't get me wrong, I think a good chunk of it was shot and done before all this. I'm not positive. Either way, they did actually start the process of getting it going before the complete and total lockdown. And why is this a thing? Well, there's been a lot of extra charges or expenses and stipulations and rules that have been piling up. First of all, you cannot have... There's basically a limit on the number of people that you can pretty much have on set, depending on the studio or depending on where you're shooting, what have you. They kind of are putting a cap on it because they don't want too many people, so it becomes a super spreader. Then everyone has to be masked, vaccinated, and social distancing all together, especially if you're shooting in Hollywood. All these things together, which, if it's a studio, a lot of the studios will basically pay for people to get tested and pay for the masks, the sanitizer, all this kind of stuff. And if someone does have any symptoms, even if it's just a cold that wouldn't harm anyone, they're being treated like it's COVID, and so they're now down a few people, so they either have to wait or they have to replace that person. It's just become a lot of hassle. And so because of this, because Hollywood and the film industry in general is basically kind of being squeezed and is in a very small box right now, a lot of actors are needing work, especially people like Chris Pratt who have a family. He has a son, he has a wife, and they need to provide for their family. So he's got to find some more work. He's got to make sure that he's busy, that he's productive. Especially, being an actor, there's no guarantee that you're going to have, you don't get a steady paycheck. Especially if you work with, Disney now, because they no longer, I don't think they maybe for, the biggest stars, maybe, but from what I know, they no longer even allow royalties in contracts. You don't get a percentage of anything. You get paid a lump sum, total, that's it, walk away. No matter how much the movie makes, that's it. So there's no steadiness. This is how Samuel L. Jackson became, I think there was a period of time when he was the actor who was financially worth the most because he was in so many films, and he, instead of getting paid a huge lump sum, he still got paid a huge lump sum, but he kind of balanced it out. He would compromise for a larger percentage of the royalties for less straight up pay. And this meant I think there was a couple of years when he did 6 films a year, which is crazy. And they were big films. And so he filled out his entire year. He had all these movies, multiple years. And so he was just collecting a lot of royalty. And so he kind of didn't really have to do anything as long as they were still going to streaming, as long as they were still going to DVD or Blu-ray or to television, he was still getting a cut. But that's not really a thing that people do anymore, so actors don't really have that kind of stability. They don't really have that kind of safety net. They don't have that kind of guarantee. So you have a certain amount of money that you've been paid that basically pays for this many years that you kind of set aside for bills and rent and health insurance and all this kind of stuff, whatever. But then you have to make sure that you have booked stuff for the following years. And so that's basically what he's doing. Nobody knows at all whether or not the lockdowns, the mandates, the strict rules, the red tape is ever going to actually end, especially in Hollywood, especially in California. So a lot of these actors are having to go into areas that they didn't really go into before. I know this because there's been a lot of actors who were basically just actors, they were also models, have been approaching me to help them get into voiceover. And that, from what I understand, is the same thing that's happening to Chris Pratt and a lot of other actors. Because there's not that many films being made unless you live in other states. Texas is pretty much still running fine. So is Atlanta, Georgia, and is a huge film area, and Florida, and I can't remember what the other ones were. But, New York and California, the biggest hubs, pretty much nothing. You're very, very, restricted. It's not completely cut off, but there's not as much job opportunity for the people that were already, relying on the work that they were going to be getting in Hollywood. So they're having to branch out, go into voice acting. And from what I've heard, Chris Pratt actually really, really is trying to do a good job doing voice acting. He's trying to get into it. He's trying to do a good, job doing Mario. Apparently him and the director went back and forth trying to get the right voice. But here's where it kind of gets a little bit dicey and where a lot of people in the voice acting industry really, really have a problem with this. If the director and him were working on him doing the voice to sound like Mario, sound exactly like Mario for a really long time, they could have just hired the guy who did Mario since the beginning. There's been 3 people to ever do Mario? And one of them does 99% of Mario? They could just get him? He was begging to do the work. And I'm sorry that I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I don't want to say his name and just be wrong, so just type in Mario. Voice actor Mario. He's the guy that's going to show up. It's him. We all know who it is. We've heard the man. But yeah, if they wanted someone to sound like these characters, they could have just hired him. He's been doing it for a long time. Now, it's different with Bowser. I'm not a fan of Jack Black, even though everyone continually says that I look like Jack Black. Fine. It's just the long hair, the portliness, and the beard, and the crazy personality. Fine. I'll live with that. I'll die with it. Totally fine. But just overall, I think he was a big hit in the 90s. I thought he was hilarious. And I don't think he adapted all that well for modern day. But kind of listening to his performance and personality, his sense of humor, and imagining him as Bowser, I can kind of see it. Bowser has been voiced by a whole bunch of people. In fact, a lot of the times, he's not even voiced by anybody, technically. It's just noises. Sometimes it's just animal sounds that they've just pitch shift, all that kind of stuff. So Bowser is a little bit more flexible. There's a lot more people that can voice Bowser. But when it comes to Mario, it's kind of already a guy. There was kind of already a guy for the longest time. And he kind of earned it. He had been, he hasn't really been able to do much else. He's kind of just been stuck being the Mario guy. And this was his one time to shine. And that's where I kind of have a little bit of a problem with it. I'm not against Chris Pratt. I like the actor. I think he's really, really good. He's really, really funny. He can be cool. He can be dramatic. He can be very funny. He's hilarious. I just think he's just a genuinely nice guy. But the idea of going and getting a huge... So back in the day, for those who don't know, way back in the day, films were basically... People went to go see movies because of the actors that were in them. That used to be how it was, especially in the silver screen era. You went to go see Clark Gable. You went to go see John Wayne. You went to go see Dick Van Dyke. You went to go see all these, actors, whoever they were. You went to go see them. You went to go see those people in those movies. You didn't care about what the story was. You just wanted to see those celebrities on the screen. Nowadays, that's not how it is. Nobody goes to movies because of an actor. We don't care. We really don't. It really... And here's one of the problems that I have is that a lot of the times the studio will spend a good chunk of the money hiring the biggest name actors that they can get, still thinking that it's because of their name that people come to see the movie. But I've made a rant about producers. I might do another rant about it. I've had projects destroyed by producers. I've had bad interactions with producers. I'm just not a fan of them. Their job is literally just to take the money from the bank, sign the checks, and hand it to the right people. That's their only actual job. But most of the time, especially nowadays, they exceed their actual job parameters. They exceed what they're actually supposed to be doing. And they try to do more, micromanage and take over the creative side, including casting. And most of the time, a producer is not someone who's ever done directing, writing, or acting. Very rarely will you actually see, an actor or a writer be a producer. I think the last film that I know of where it was like a really good film that was produced perfectly was actually, I think it was Bradley Cooper who was the executive producer for the movie Joker. And that was a great movie. And I had no idea that Bradley Cooper was involved. And that's how it should be. He had other than just, helping hire people and make sure that the money's not being wasted, that was it. He kind of just let the director, the actor, and the writer just do their thing. And that's how it should be. But studios and executive producers still think that we're back in the silver screen era, and they still think that people are going to go see movies because of these actors. He's like, no, this actor is famous because they were in a movie that people went to go see and they liked. And it doesn't matter if they're in another movie. That movie has to be good, regardless of who's in it. And so they partly it's probably because they sent out a whole bunch of auditions and to all these actors who they thought had kind of like the Mario personality. I don't know what the hell is in their head, but they sent out all these audition notices. A lot of big studios, they don't have open auditions. They actually just send it to specific people, to specific managers, to specific actors. Ask them directly to come in and audition. Have a very closed audition, which is fine, totally fine. But then they kind of pick from that small list. So if they don't have an open audition or they don't, branch out much further, they're basically still only casting based on popularity. But if they did do that and Chris Pratt nailed the audition, then that means of that group of people, he was the one that the director liked the most and did the best job or, did the best read. That's what I'm hoping. So even though he's not a voice actor, even though I don't know what went on behind it, and the Garfield thing still confuses the hell out of me. I don't know why. I don't know, maybe when he was, in the studio and they were, going over the Mario voice, they just tried random voices and he did like a perfect Garfield and they were like, oh, they called the dude. He's like, I got your Garfield right here. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But this is not new. This is not new. I know there's a lot of people freaking out about it, but this is not new. Actors have been taking jobs away from voice actors for a long time. I'm not the first person to talk about this. Obviously, it's going to continue to happen, basically up to the point of Hollywood. Basically, that's going to be voice actors. And then once it gets to, the big films, it's pretty much not going to be voice actors. However, I will say one thing. I think the latest Hotel Transylvania, I think that's it. They replaced Adam Sandler with, I can't remember his name, but he's a voice actor who does a lot of like spot-on impressions, especially of Disney characters. And he just nailed the audition, and so he took over for Adam Sandler as Dracula. So there's an example of a relatively big franchise, a big film that is going to be in theaters that the lead voice actor is actually done by a voice actor. Even though I'm sure he can act as well, there's no, this isn't, a a statement on him in any way as far as like his skills and acting. But there's an example of where a voice actor who's primarily voice acting has taken, has a big role in a large franchise. It's rare, but it does happen. But most of the time, it is going to be actors. Look at any Disney film nowadays. Just look at anything that goes to theaters. It's going to be celebrities. It's going to be big celebrities, which is fine. Partly that's because, and I know there are some actors who are voice actors, like Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman is a voice actor. He's got a beautiful voice. He's done tons of voice acting, but he's also a really good actor. And I don't remember who it was who said this, but this is not my thing, is that a lot of times studios go with actors who've been in a lot of films, not just because they're popular, but because they are actors. And a voice actor doesn't need to just be someone behind a microphone reading copy. They also need to be an actor. You have to completely embody the character. You have to be able to get lost in the performance. You have to feel those emotions. And a lot of the times, actors are better at that than people who've just done voice acting. Mostly just because you've been locked in your little space this whole time. You have no outside feedback. You haven't really had to play off of many people. You don't get a lot of live directing. We mostly direct ourselves. So a lot of the times, it is actually going to be actors playing these characters because they want acting, not just voice acting, acting. So this is a very complicated subject. It's a very complicated topic. I think it's funny. This is my input. If anyone has been wondering what's been going on and didn't know why or was freaking out about it, I hope this helped. If it didn't, I got nothing. I can't do anything for you. But yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. Subscribe if you're new. Bell for notifications, and leave down the comment section below. See me cover any other topics. You want to ask me any questions, leave them down below. I haven't been great at dealing with people as far as coaching lately. A lot has happened in my life. Just if you need help, I will try. But if I don't respond immediately, do not be surprised. My life is kind of chaos right now. So anyway, yeah, that's going to be it. And until next time, peace.